Okay, so I thought we had a good tax class today on Wednesday, September 30th. We talked a lot about insurance, and what I thought I would do is show you the illustration of life insurance that life insurance agents give to their prospective clients or sales to illustrate exactly what we spoke about in class. It would have been helpful, I think, to have this, and I apologize for not having it in class, but I thought of it afterwards. This is as it says, a sample illustration of a policy for, and it tells you, this is what the information will tell you when you see these things, how old the person is, whether they're male or female, how much death benefits involved. And then what it does is it goes by the beginning of the policy year. So this represents the first year the policy is put in place, and this represents the end of the first year age at the end of that first year. So this is, again, not again, but it illustrates even better than I said. It says end of year one. At the end of year one, if they were age 45 up here when they started, they're going to be 46 here. And at 5, they'll be 50, etc., as it goes chronologically down the line in terms of number of years. This column always being the number of years the policy's in place. This is the age of the individual. And you can see that what happens here is they pay up a certain amount per year for a certain number of years. And then at the end of that time, the policy is owned, quote unquote, by the individual. Now, they're not required to pay anything more, and over here, based on, this is what the rates that the policies are currently getting when the policy was sold to this individual. So the illustration over in this column will be based on current rates of return, not guaranteed. We'll look at guaranteed in a minute. And what the policy illustration shows is that at the end of the first year, there is some cash value. Net cash value we'll talk about in a second. And every year that, or as time goes on, the cash value goes up, so does the net cash value. So that by age 85, down here, the two numbers are agreeing with each other. Actually, even earlier than that, starts, where does it start agreeing? Oh, by this year here, they actually agree. And I'll explain that now. What's going on is that in the first years, they have what's called a surrender charge. So let's write this over here. The net cash value, if you cash out the policy, there is a surrender charge. It's sort of like a penalty for taking out your money early from the policy. That goes away so that by this year here, there is no surrender charge left anymore. So the surrender charge, in effect, ends over this period of time. And each illustration is different as to when that happens. When that happens, it means that the amount of money listed here is the amount of money that you could get out should you cash the policy out. Of course, we learned in class, that's the amount of cash out you would get if you ended the policy. You canceled the contract. As we learned about in class, that's something you don't want to do if you're trying to get the benefits of the tax aspects that we talked about in class, the deferred interest buildup. And let's see what that is. First of all, let's see how many annualized payments went into this policy. So it looks like 20 years of this amount. So let's do the math. 20 years of that amount comes out to $27,000. So they'll have put in total of $27,000 over a period of time, and by the time they're age 85, it'll be worth $44,357. Should they cash out at that point, the difference between that and the $27,000 or $17,357 would be the taxable amount. Of course, the death benefit in this illustration continues to be $100,000. So if they were to die at age 85, the heirs get the $100,000. They don't get both, and that's, again, another reason for illustrating this, so you can see what's going on and what's going on with this cash value. The cash value buildup is the number that is earning money for you, but during certain years over here, subject to a surrender charge. Now here's the guaranteed column. We'll come back to things in a few minutes. Here's the guaranteed column, which is what the policy contract in this illustration is saying they'll do for sure. They'll give you 4.5%. And you can see that what happens, well, maybe you can't see, but I'm going to explain it to you. Look what happens. By the age 75 over here, the cash value, oh, better yet, let's go back. Let me go back. Let me illustrate something really cool. Let me clear the deck. This will really be cool. All right, watch this. So here's what the guaranteed columns are telling us. They're telling us the following, that up until age 65, while the premiums are being paid, the cash value at the guaranteed rate continues to go up. Premiums stop at age 66. That's the last year. 65 is the last year premiums are paid at age 65, and no more premiums are paid. Since no more premiums are paid, the earnings from the inside interest, whatever this is earning, pays for the insurance to continue. But you can see that what happens is that even though it's paying for it in here and these years here, by the end of age 72, there's not enough money to continue to pay for the insurance. So these years there is no insurance. It's dead. It's been canceled basically for lack of ability to sustain itself. The insurance is gone. There's no death benefit. So in this case, this particular illustration is telling the purchaser of the policy that if they don't do any better than the guaranteed rate, then come age 72, they're going to have to put more premiums in. They'll have to start paying again in order to keep the policy active. And what that would do is that would keep the death benefit going, the $100K, by putting more money in. Over here, with the current rate of 5.75%, even though they continue to do the same thing at age 65, they stop paying the premiums, the amount of earnings on the cash value is enough to sustain the cost of the insurance plus continue to build up some over time. So it works. The policy works pretty well when you are looking at a 5.75% return, but the policy fails at the guaranteed rate at some point in time without more premiums being paid. So this can change. You don't have to do zero. You can continue to put money in and sustain the policy. Now, what I wanted to point out as well is that over here with this, if the policy does at least this illustration of the 5.75%, let's pick a good year. Let's pick age 65, the year of retirement, of potential retirement. So there's let's call it $29,500 of cash value inside the plan. And let's say it's you or your husband. And so you're saying, well, we got all this money in the plan. What good does it do us? Sure, we got a $100,000 death benefit, but if you live long enough, it's just going to go to the kids, or it's going to go to some family member, and live long enough, it'll just be money that we'll never get the use of. So the other spouse says, aha, well, we can borrow against it. We can borrow up to 90%, which turns out to be, of that amount, $26,550. Let me make sure I did the math right, because that seems a little, yes, that's the right math. So we can borrow $26,550 and use the money for whatever we want. Now, when that happens, since you borrowed, the plan itself continues to earn money as if it was $29,546, and so it will go up, but it will go up where you have to pay back interest. So if the incremental amount here is enough to pay the interest charge, so your cash buildup will be less because it's paying the interest, but the interest is actually coming out of the cash buildup. And by the way, I sort of overlooked the real key here, and that is, look, you're paying in amounts here. These are the payments, but there's, like an investment, it's building up. It's building up to the point where at some stage it surpasses the cost that you put in and has cash value above and beyond what it's cost you. Because if the whole thing costs $27,000, here you see at this age, let's erase the board so we can see it. At this age here, for sure, you've got more than what your premiums are. Not a whole lot more, maybe, to justify what you would have invested on your own, and that's because expenses are coming out. But the point is that at this percentage rate of return, the policy is able to sustain itself, paying for the cost of insurance each year, paying for any interest charge if you borrow off of it, and it keeps on going. Now, the truth is that we don't know if it'll really do 5.75%. So people who are owning these policies every year or every couple of years, they get a new illustration, and the new illustration will show them where they're at and what they expect the future to be, so they can monitor these policies. Because the one thing you don't want to do is, well, I guess I have to say this with a caveat, that you want to watch to make sure you don't do this without some economic justification. You don't want to let a policy lapse like this, because you lose the $100,000 death benefit that way, and then that's just like sort of crazy. But it doesn't mean you wouldn't do it. Doesn't mean you wouldn't do it. At any rate, that's what I want to point out, is to take a look at what these things look like. I went through it quickly. I'm not an insurance salesman, so I may not be answering every question you have, but so feel free to email me any questions you have, and I'll be glad to answer those specifically to you and the class.